I'm back and I'm going to be talking about bags and collecting bags with my special friend and guest star Lulu, and she's going to be talking about her bag collection.
Hi. So for me, collecting bags is equivalent to buying stocks. I have a really good friend of mine who actually inherited her grandmother's handbags, all very vintage 60s Bottega Veneta, and I hope to one day, if ever I have a little girl, give my bags over to her. And so I've been collecting bags since I was probably 19 years old. Started off with my very first Kate Spade bag, which I gave to my sister actually, and I've sort of had bags in the past where, generally speaking, I've given them over to my sister when she wants it or when I feel like I've no use for it anymore. But I'm always, the thing about bag collection is you always have to look. There is no, I pretty much will probably go shopping once a week, and I'm always on the lookout for a good bag deal. I'm just going to show you a couple pieces from my collection that are really close to me, and sort of how I got there, and what to look for when you're looking for bags to collect. My Balenciaga bag. So this is something I picked up probably in 2005. I was in Florence, and we made a trip to the outlet shops. And outlet shopping is very tricky because, generally speaking, you probably won't find a lot of good things in there, but you really do. I think I was there for a total of 6 hours, and this is the only bag that I picked up in the whole 6-hour trip. So, very important to know that it is actually a real Balenciaga bag. So this one I picked up mainly because, the first thing you look at is color. For this one, because of the amount I was spending, it wasn't actually very much. It was about 300 euros. But considering at the time when I was living in Canada, the Balenciaga bag was going for about $1,200, it's actually quite a good deal. And again, the first thing I looked for was the color. And, if you're spending sort of a certain amount, you do want a color that's going to be classic. The second thing I looked for was material. Now, this one has a bit of python in the middle, but it's also got, it's very soft, sort of like Napa leather. I also looked for things like the bits and pieces that, what colors they came in. I thought the gold really worked well with the black. So this is one piece that sort of, again, stood out mainly for its color, shape, size. I thought this is a classic shape. It's just it's sort of like a gaucho style bag. So it was, and for 300 euros, it was just something that I couldn't pass up. So this is sort of like one of my favorite parts of it. And I don't use it very often, but I do use it. It's important to kind of like circulate through your bags. But I think with this, I do take a bit more care with it because it is a very nice sort of piece for my collection anyway. So that's sort of like the designer handbag part of it. And just to carry on with that, another bag that I picked up was a Mulberry bag that I got for about $300. Again, very soft leather. I looked for the color brown with a little tassel. Actually, Kate Middleton has a pink one of this. Again, I looked for a sort of shape, a very half-moon crescent, very classic, really 70s kind of feel. I thought the bronze detailing was really important. The leather stitching, I just thought it was, this was classic. It would age well. It was a very light brown when I first got it, and you can see over time that it just sort of darkened naturally, and the colors just got richer, and you could tell like from a good sort of grain leather that's what happens, and I've worn this for years and years, and I've worn it actually more heavily than I would want to have worn it, but I don't wear it as much anymore because I really do want to preserve it. But this is another one that I just thought was a really good find. Again, very sort of classic color, classic shape. Very important to kind of, work this into the collection. So I don't always buy designer bags, but when you're not
gorgeous,
buying,
isn't it?
yeah, it's actually
So gorgeous.
love it. The tassel I thought was really quite
Yeah.
70s, and that this will go in and out of style. It carries like a bunch of different things. I use it for travel because it just carries so much. So I don't always buy designer. I think it's very important to know when to sort of buy pieces that are Not designer, but still, very good quality. A designer that I really love, because I'm Canadian, is Matt and Nat. And they do vegan handbags. So this is one that I picked up, dating myself, 6 years ago. Matt and Nat do only vegan handbags. So this is actually PVC, it's not actually leather. So when you're spending less, this is when you could take a bit of a risk. So again, the color green, very bright green. Not something I would buy if I was buying a 400 or 500 pound bag. But I think this bag was only like $130 at the time. So full price, it wasn't on sale or anything like that. And then the shape, you can kind of tell that it is a very odd shape. And this, to me, when you're spending less, this is when you can do a real statement bag. And that's the time when you really want to be doing things that are a little bit different, not so classic. Some of my, sort of more expensive handbags are, classic colors. I probably wouldn't buy a red handbag. I probably wouldn't go for, such bright colors if I was buying something that cost a lot more. But when you're buying sort of like less expensive bags, it's really good to kind of do, take a bit of a risk. So again, the shape, very long. This is something that I always get compliments on when I, walk in with it, and it didn't cost me very much. And it's a very, this is a good bag.
I love the color.
I know the shape is just amazing. So again, take risks when you're buying bags that are not as expensive as the normal sort of bags. And so this other one I got, again, this is, actually this one was in Hawaii, and I think it was only $25. What you want to look for, when you go for sort of bags that are inexpensive and, anything like sort of like with beading, it's kind of hit and miss, because sometimes you'll get things and that the quality's not so great, and and it can't be really for $25. Like how good can the quality be? But this one, I thought, like, if you just look at the actual piece, I thought the fabric was, it wasn't pilling, it wasn't snagging. I thought the beadwork was really quite good. Some of the details, the shiny little details there, I thought that was sort of well placed and wasn't too garish. There's only 3 sort of rhinestoney bits on the front, on the back, and on the actual clasp. Clutches are great pieces to get at low prices, because generally speaking, there's just less material on them, and you're not using them very often, so that, like, if I use this really quite heavily, I know the beading would come off and all that stuff. So I don't use this very often. So it's actually, if you're spending very little money and you want a good piece for your collection, clutches are the best thing to kind of, invest in, because, again, you're not using them very often. I've actually loaned this bag out quite a bit. It is a popular loan piece that I have. I lend all my friends any handbags that they want. All right. So that's sort of classic bags. And then you want to go for the fun handbags that are sort of one-off pieces. And this, like, you really, really have to scour the sales. And this was a summer Tompkins bag that I picked up. Very sort of, herringbone with, like, the lady. I think this is called Ladies Who Lunch. And, I got it for a deal. Very much, sort of was shopping one day, picked it up. The thing about things that are a bit flash with design, you just want to make sure it's got a classic shape. And this, it doesn't really get more classic sort of in terms of handbags than this shape. But that's when you can go a bit more fun with the design. So this was sort of like a nice one-off piece that I found.
Can you buy her in London?
Yes, I think you can buy her. Actually, you probably want to pick her up online, Summer Tompkins. And of course, vintage. Vintage is very important. I have a lot of vintage bags. 2 of my really favorite ones. Again, very classic black clutch leather. With vintage, it's very difficult. You want to make sure that the quality is there. Like, with clutches specifically, the clasp, you want to make sure that it works. Again, I think with, like, sort of older bags, going for, like, a classic look, like, I usually buy a lot of vintage clutches that are usually black. I find that they hold their color quite well over the years. Gold.
And now we're coming to the end of part 1.